Hi, she's Trixie. I'm Sarah. This is our Yarn World, a place where we come to share with you our love for the yarn crafts and all that it does for us. And we have a lot to share with you today. We're super excited, and it's gonna be fun. I encourage you to get cozy and get ready for a nice time of us talking with you and fellowshipping. And if that means you need to pause and go to the kitchen and grab some snacks, go ahead. If you need to go grab something to drink, do so. We have some iced caramel macchiatos right now, despite the weather. It just sounded good. So that's what we're doing. And I'm super excited to see what my mom has fully done today because she finally finished the
blankets. Yes. So, I have two of them done. One is the girl muted and the other is the boy muted. And I won't be able to show you all the way until the end of this video. I took pictures so that I could add them into the video later. So,
they're big.
But
did you measure them?
I did not measure. Maybe I can measure them and tell you that next week. I didn't even think about that. But I did a double border with the rose and the green.
Oh, that's so cool.
So, and
it's so cool. Look at this.
And I was able to do the blocks on a diagonal, and I got the exact number of blocks that I needed for each diagonal, all the way down.
It wasn't planned. That's just what they figured out.
Yeah.
Her and my dad, when they were putting stuff on the ground, they realized that it was in a diagonal. It would work.
Yep.
It just like, it's just awesome.
And the boy blanket I got done yesterday, and I edged it in red. And oh my gosh, the red brought out all these pretty blues and browns. Oh, it's so beautiful.
It's kind of muted, just so you know. And on the camera that we're watching, it looks muted, but this is very rich and vibrant in person. All the dyes are very, very much complementing each other, and it's just so nice. It really reminds me of like a patchwork quilt, but Afghan. Yeah. And just especially the way that you put it together, it's so unique. And then
I edged it with the red. I can't tell if you can see that.
Yeah.
The red and the blue. So.
And like she was trying to explain last week, what she was doing is that she would take the color that she was choosing to border the whole thing, and she would line them up the way she wanted to, like map it out on the floor, and then she would stack one block on top of the other, bring that stack with her to the wherever she was going to sew them together, and then one by one she would just sew until it was like
I would crochet. I single crocheted the blocks together.
The single crocheted them together, and then it would be one long strip, and then she laid the strips out, and then after that you can see that these were individual, whereas this is actually full-on overlapping. This is one of the long strips. Yeah. And she would take that and then continuously do it, and that's what makes it look very checkerboardy.
And I always made sure that the corners lined up so that it was a very, very nice look when it was done. Because that was my whole goal was, these are going to be Christmas presents for my grandchildren, and I wanted them as almost an heirloom. I wanted them to be able to see that I took the time to make sure that they all lined up and that it worked out, and I really, really liked the corners.
Yeah, how nicely flat they lay.
Well, I was able, and that first line when I was going around, I did 3 in 1 stitch. The next
to make the turn.
But then after that, I made sure that there was a stitch marker in that middle one. When I got done with that, I made sure there was 2 in the one before it, 2 in the middle, and 2 on the side, so that each one of these came around. So I always made sure the stitch marker was right in the middle, And I always checked to make sure, and I was doing a half double crochet for the whole thing. So I did 2 half double crochets in the stitch before the middle, 2 half double crochets in the middle stitch, 2 half double crochets in the one after, so that it would just come around that corner very nicely. And the only one being different was that very first one coming around the corner. It had 3 in that first middle stitch.
So the foundational corner was 3 stitches
in the middle,
and then after that, when she reached those 3 stitches, she would do 2 in each stitch.
Yes, and that way it came out into a nice corner.
The way that she put the marker in was she put it in the second stitch for that 3, which would be the middle.
Yeah.
The middle one. And that way she'd be able to be like, okay, I've just about reached the marker, 2 stitches here. Hit the marker, 2 stitches. After the marker, 2 stitches, and then put the marker back in.
No, I put when I was doing the middle 2, I would do the 2, and then I would put the stitch marker right in between them.
Yep.
And I always knew I had the middle every single time I came to that corner.
That's really, really cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, where she has
2 done.
Where she's gotten 2 blankets done, I got 2 pillows done.
Yes.
And I got that pink heart conversation pillow done. So this filming process has everything flipped, but it actually says Netflix and chill. I know do you flip the...
Actually, it comes out right when I'm editing.
Okay, well, sorry, a little editing combo. When I'm looking at the camera frame that's showing us what we're filming, it's coming into me as reversed image. But if this is how you're normally seeing it, by reading it and seeing it in normal, then it just says Netflix and chill. You know, just a very modern quote for a very romantic time, date at home, so to speak.
Yes.
And it's supposed to look like a conversation heart, and I love it. I made myself another one, so there's 2 conversation hearts, and this one is blue. It's again in the pastels, and it says "kiss me" ... with a kiss mark on it, and I love it. Like,
It came out so good.
I really wanted to do something a little bit more traditional to the conversation heart than always doing the modern. And the idea "kiss me" came to me because I think that was one of the things. One of the conversations.
It still is.
Yeah. I did the ... because I didn't do it big enough. I realized as I was doing it, I was like, okay, so I'm going to do it here. I don't want to do the me right here just because it would leave this huge space. So then I was like, wait a minute, if I do like a heart here, and that's where my head was going, like do like a romantic sign right there. And I was like, the pillow is a heart. You can't do a heart when it's already a heart. And so I was like, wait a minute, a kissy mark.
Kissy lips.
So
and remember she said she was going to do this in cross stitch. That didn't work.
No, the way that the pattern read, it just showed you how to make the pillow, and by the time I got to the bottom of the pattern, it did not explain how to actually put the sayings on. It was kind of like a, that's on you.
Yeah.
And I honestly think the woman who made this pattern up embroidered the conversations on. Because that's where the cross stitch really comes from. I didn't have embroidery thread. And so the yarn was not laying flat like embroidery thread would when you did those crosses.
Yeah.
And so when I was doing it with the thread, it came out so uneven and so patchy and not taut the same, because they would overlap and they would bump and ridge, and you could barely see the stitch underneath the other cross one. I was like, what's the point then?
Yeah.
And so I just kind of made up my own font. Like I just did some like stripey strews over here and just kind of went along with the inspiration that I got, and I just went for it, and I think that they came out really, really nice.
And they are. Look, she made a nice...
That's part of the pattern.
Yeah.
So you make the 2 hearts, separate pieces, and then you're supposed to make a band so that it's just one long... It's like 7 inches you chain, and then when you come back in, you're
7 inches or 7 stitches?
Sorry, 7 chains. I said chain. Not stitches, chain. You chain 7, and you go into the second loop from the crochet hook, and you go back across, which leaves you with 6 stitches.
Right.
And then you would chain 1, turn, and then go across the 6, chain 1, turn. And so it was a 6 chain band, and you went up, and you did 132 rows.
Wow.
And then just like how you attached your blocks together, they just wanted you to not finish off on that band. And you just started crocheting all the way around the band, attaching it to the heart.
I think it makes a nice look when you do that.
The traditional pillow look where it's seamed together is really nice, but when you do it like this, it gives it a little bit dimension because it's actually it gives it depth.
Yes.
And there's something really cool about throw pillows with depth because that shows them off a little differently and it catches the eye.
Yes, it does.
And so I made these. I'm really excited about them. And I'm not thinking that I'm going to be making any more just because it requires pastels and I don't have any more pastel colors. And I am on to another project. Currently, my husband requested that I start making things for profit. We invest a lot of our extra money into my craft, and there's nothing wrong with that. My husband has absolutely no problem with that. But part of the things that I make, he would like to see benefit the household by coming back as profit, something that I'm able to contribute to the bringing home the bacon, so to speak. And so originally these pillows were actually going to be stuff that I threw out for my own recreational use, so to speak, but he really liked these and he really thought that these would be something that would sell well. And so I might sell these, I'm not sure, but the blanket that I am making currently is something I definitely will be selling. But I'll show it to you and then I'll talk more about some of my thoughts on it, just because as someone who is starting to really do this in a little bit more seriousness, there's conversations and topics that are brought up and I would like to bring them up as a conversation for our talk. But again, these are really fun to make. I would really say that this is at a beginner's level. The only part that might be a little confusing is this one, but if you even didn't want to crochet it on, you could sew it on with a whip stitch.
Yeah. If
you wanted to, if that would be easier for you, you could pin it together first.
Yeah.
So that you know that you have enough space and it's...
For me, when I was doing the blankets, I just thought that the crocheted, doing the single crochet borders and the half double crochet borders, but the putting the blocks together
a single crochet
and a single crochet just made it that much more sturdy. And as
it was all done by crochet.
And yes, and actually the sewing didn't interest me. I have trouble with that and using string, because once you get down to the end, It's all frayed, and I didn't want that. I wanted it to be something that these kids were going to have for years and years. Sit down and watch their little movies and have their little blankies to, excuse me, cuddle up with on the couch or on the floor. And, that's what my kids used to do. We had movie night, and they would bring out their favorite blankets and their pillows, and they would all lay on the floor, and we'd watch a movie and have popcorn. And I just thought if I could provide the blankets, the kids could do that with their own kids.
Yeah, we can pass on the tradition.
Yeah. So
we used to get our sleeping bags out. It was insane. And when my parents would ever go, a little backstory here before I say this, because it's going to sound really bad. My brother, I have two, but the one that lived with us the longest, because my other one is my brother, half brother from my dad, not biological to her, and he lived with his mom for quite a bit of his life. Even though he was a part of our life, he just lived with his mom primarily. The one that lived with us was my half brother, her biological child that she had before
my husband and I both had a son before
in previous marriages
before we were together and had our daughter together.
Yeah, so the boys were both 8 years old when I was born.
Yeah.
Josh was born in December, and then Eric was born in January, and I was born in January, and so they both are very close in age. And it's very hard. It used to be very hard for me to explain as a kid that I had two older brothers, 8-year older brothers, and without expressing that they weren't twins at all.
Our son, my son was born December 13th. My husband's son was born January 2nd, and our daughter was born January 9th. And we have 3 only children, 3 firstborn only children who all like to tell each other what to do. So, except 2 of them are 8 years older than my daughter.
So, with that perspective, when my brothers were a little older, they would babysit. That's where I was going with this. And so my parents, on anniversaries, when they would go out and have a weekend or whatever, my brother Josh would stay home with me, because Josh was the one that lived with us, and he would just make sure that he was home and his schedule was clear. And based off of our memory of sleeping or pulling out our blankets into the living room, what we would do when they were not home was we would pull our mattresses out to the living room, and we would sleep there the whole weekend. The whole weekend we would watch movies. My brother would take the video game systems out of his bedroom, and he would set them up to the big screen, and we would just full on just be in full sleepover mode.
And that's
it was the best. And it was one of the best times. I loved it.
I never had to worry about my kids when we went away. I knew that they were going to have fun at the house. I also knew that Josh and Sarah have such a bond that they would do things for each other, and that it would be a good time for both of them.
Yeah, it was fun. So, what is it that you're working on right now? And then, or did you want me to show off my current whip first?
Okay, I decided after I got all the border done yesterday, and I weaved in all those ends. Oh my gosh. That I wasn't going to work on any more blocks for a little while.
Oh my god.
I was tired of weaving in ends and everything. And it's not that it's hard. I mean, my husband puzzled the boy one out on Saturday, and I got it done on Wednesday night. Okay, it was not a long process. I'm just saying I needed a little break. So I decided I'm going to do a scrappy blanket. I have plenty of scraps. My next 2 blankets for the grandkids, one likes blue, one likes red. And they're the brothers, the one that she made the Bowser and Mario for.
Mm-hmm.
And so I decided to start with the blue one. And I'm making a scrappy blanket. And I got this far. So I am doing 2 yarns together. I am doing worsted weights. I'm using an L hook. And isn't that the cutest? Can you see? Oh, it's twisted. It's a little yarn ball. So yeah, I'm using the 2 yarns, and I've never done that before, but I think it's fun. It's not blocks. And it's, when I'm done with it, I just have the beginning threads and the end threads to weave in. The rest of them will be weaved in as I'm doing it, and I won't have to do it for very, very long before it's done. I can do the red one after that, and then maybe I can go back to those very various color blocks and start edging them into black and getting those done.
So, yeah, my mom just isn't a fan of Afghans, apparently. Which, hey, like, there's nothing wrong with it. What makes me laugh about that is that she was a major quilter before this. Like, I'm talking hardcore, would do custom quilts, it was a business for a while, and it was like, that was her passion, and passions change and interests change. I
still like blankets,
and it's not that, yeah, you like the blanket, the quilt, the things that keep us warm.
Yeah.
She likes that. She likes throws, all that sort of thing. But it's like, that's what she used to do, was sew blocks together all the time.
Right?
And now, no, it's not going to happen anymore. She don't have to do it anymore. And it's nothing wrong with it, but it just amuses me that we've come full circle, and she's like, oh, we could do all these blocks and it'd be so cute, and I get a couple of them done at a time, and it's very easy to bring with me because it's not that big and bulky, and I can still feel like I'm getting a blanket done, and I'm just like, that's awesome. This is taking forever. I have to sew these all together. Why did I do this? Like, it just amuses me. It just amuses me. That's all. No shame.
She knows me.
Well, speaking of Afghans.
Speaking of blankets.
Oh my god. So.
And blocks.
And sewing them together, I'm using an invisible thread.
And guess who had it? I had it at my house. I brought it to her today.
Invisible thread, yes. The blanket that I'm about to do.
She didn't even know I had it. I just brought it today.
No, you texted it to me last night.
Yeah. I'm just saying that it was something that I already had because I had been quilting before. Yes.
So, like I said, me and my husband are trying to, we're not in a position where we need to make ends meet. We're fine, but it would be beneficial for us to have another avenue for money. My husband has been doing overtime a lot at his work, on top of being signing up to be on call for his work, and then he does other odd end jobs that his friends are involved with. He'll like seasonally contract himself out to those jobs, and it's not that he's winded by it. He wants to do it. It's his choice to do it. I always make it his choice.
He's very much of an
extrovert
and likes to be around other people.
He likes to be around other people, but he likes to always be doing something. He has a very hard time not doing stuff and relaxing. Something that I always have to make sure that he takes time to do, otherwise he burns himself out and he doesn't even realize it, and half the time that's why he gets ornery. It's because he's either not fed or he is not taking enough breaks.
And I think that's why my husband and him get along so well, because I believe my husband's an extrovert also, and he likes to be doing something all the time.
Yeah. Well, we were trying to brainstorm ideas on things that I could make and make a profit off of. Like I said, we've been buying a lot of yarn, and his intentions are, he knows that when I see a ball of yarn or a skein of yarn, I see something in it. I see something that can be made out of that. Right. It's almost like, I think I've used this analogy several times, but I know I'm going to continuously say it. It's like when Michelangelo looked at that piece of marble and said, it wasn't me making, David. It was David was in there and I was just chipping him out. Yeah. Like, there's just something about the whole, it's there, I just have to kit it out. Yeah. And I love that. I love the whole, this is my craft. I am sculpting something with this clay, so to speak. And we live in a part of the country of America where it's hard to explain. Muskegon is a very, very interesting county to live in because there's a lot of history here, but we're also living in the time of the pandemic, and so there's a lot of caution, there's a lot of this, there's a lot of that. Yeah. But this town has a lot of interests. It's right off of Lake Michigan, so we have that whole beach bum thing going on. We have, and there's no shade here what I'm about to say. I'm just saying this more as a fact. We have quite a bit of I don't know if hippie is considered a derogatory term or not, but we have a very almost new age, just free-spirited congregation of people that live here. They always have their festivals around here during the spring and the summer, and
we had the biker festival during the summer.
The biker festival because we have a Harley Davidson warehouse downtown. Yeah. We have the artisans downtown that do the whole art fairs and the whole this, and we have the athletics, and we have the gamers. Yeah. Oh my goodness, do we have gamers? Yeah. Like video gamers, like almost on the professional level. Yeah. Like GameStop and FYE, and fandom is huge. If you're a fan of something, this town has a very high love for what makes you click.
We have a diverse neighborhood.
We do. And there's nothing wrong with that. Obviously, we love it. We have very old libraries here that have book clubs and kid reading corners, and that we have. It's really alive here when they choose to be. Our town has been slowly shutting down in some ways. Every single time we have a good festival, the town wonders whether it's a good source of income, whether the good outweighs the bad. Because
we had Unity Festival also, so we have a lot of Christian music.
Yes,
people that come into our town.
Yeah, like big Christian
names,
big Christian artists. Music artists come, and we have a good town, and I'm not saying that the town is trying to like eat itself alive by taking away any sort of form of population that we have when it comes to our festivals or what, but in the last couple of years, even before the pandemic, they started shutting down some of the gatherings just based off of people would get too rowdy, people would get hurt. Not that it's just circumstances. It probably was drama outside of that, but it ended there. Yeah. And so the town ended up the council had to really consider whether it was a good idea to continue.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. Well, with so many interests, I was thinking about building a business of making things by season, where I was like, okay, we're in winter, so I make some sort of stock of things that are spring related, so that I am ready when spring comes for people to buy. Because I'm not really a fill my order sort of person. I am a very spontaneous person. I like to make things that inspire me and then go from there and have them, and just so it's this is what I have to sell more than this is what I can do to. And I
don't want to make things 1,000 times because I get bored with it.
Yeah.
She's very much like that.
Yeah. So when I'm inspired to do something, I want to have that be what consumes me.
Yeah.
Well, I was originally going to go by season, like I said, and then I realized that I need to be focusing on things that, though the season by season thing is not a bad idea, it's something I might come back to. Right now, if I'm trying to make money and I need it now, I really should be focusing on something that isn't more like art fair style, where it's like I just need to make it, like, because the season by season idea is more of like, okay, I'm making things so that by the time the spring art fair is, I have stuff for spring.
Right.
Like, that's kind of the general consensus, but that's what we are used to. We can just buy a $10 table and then buy stuff, and you know what I mean? Like, that's what we're used to, and now that's gone right now because of the pandemic. So I was like, I need to be making things that are relevant, that are stuff that people are going to want right now.
Things that are interesting to them.
No matter what time of the year.
Yes. And unique to them.
I could make things that are special, like holiday things, like the candy heart pillows, and Christmas things, and Halloween things, and 4th of July things, and people would enjoy that stuff. I think that would sell well.
Yeah.
But you know, I said fandom and I said gamer stuff, and I've made Mario stuff in the past. But all my husband said is Nintendo would be safe. Nintendo things, game stuff would be a safe thing right now.
And a lot of the older generation played it, and now the younger generation is coming back to it, so yeah, it's going to be safe.
And so I am currently constructing a Mario blanket. I'm not sure if this is my diagram is very muted color, so I'm not sure if it's going to really show up on the camera. You'll see it no matter what by its end.
You could find it on your phone if you needed to.
I could. You know what? Let me do that real quick. So pretty much what it is that the old style blankets, or not blankets, gameplay for Mario, like the old Super Nintendo stuff, very old form of gameplay. What they would do is they'd pixel everything together.
It was pixelated.
It was pixelated. That's how the games were made. And so the image was pixelated, the way that the gameplay was pixelated, everything was constructed by pixel. And pixels are like little frames, and they're generally squares. And so everything is monitored in the game by where Mario is per pixel, per square. That's how it reads the data. But also the image is pixelated, so everything is colored in by squares. So it's all these little squares colored. It reminds me of like those dot paintings that you'd see at like art museums, where it's like
the pointillism.
That sort of stuff. That's how the games are, and which means that every single image in those older games are all done in a square format.
Yeah.
Which means that, I don't know if you're going to see that, but I don't know if you can see, but every single detail on Mario here is all done by one square at a time. And so every single square makes up the image. And so there are, I want to say it was 18 squares across, 27 squares down, and that makes 486 squares worth of solid color. See? Yeah, that's good. There we go. And so and there's no shading. It's just squares.
Right.
And so I'm just finding solid colors that meet the need of this. I know. And I compiled them and I made a pattern that is pretty much it's the identical pattern I've written on grid paper, and then I counted how many of each color there was so I could make granny squares and make this an Afghan.
There you go.
And so I am pretty excited with this. I am
Grid paper comes in pretty handy for that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I'm so glad I'm not using it for algebra anymore. But it's been really fun. I've been super excited doing this. It's going to be an endeavor, like I said, 486 squares.
Yeah.
This is going to be tiring. It's not going to be fun. The squares are not what's fun for me. For me, the enjoyment is putting it together because I love the end product. When I'm at that point, I'm just like, I'm doing this. I'm puzzling it out. I'm doing the rows. I'm actually putting it together. But that's part of the reason I'm using clear thread, because I am putting it together. I don't want the individual, I don't want that to be what you're seeing. I want the image to be what you're seeing, and I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
You couldn't do it the way I did it because it wouldn't make sense.
It wouldn't look right. So I'm super excited. I just bought a whole bunch of yarn for it. Currently our camera is dying, so I'm not quite sure if I'm going to be able to show off everything for this today.
We could put new batteries in and start over.
Okay, we'll see you in a minute. So I'm making granny squares for this blanket, and I am just doing a basic granny. You know, just basic construction of granny. I'm not doing any fancy granny here. I am doing just 4 rows, as you can see. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I am using worsted weight yarn, acrylic yarn. 4 weight, 4 ply, whatever you want to call it. And I am doing a lot of Caron yarn and a lot of Red Heart yarn. And the colors I have to do for this blanket, I know that you saw it on the image, but I'm just overviewing. I have to do some sky blue. I have to do some cherry red. I have to do yellow, brown, black, and puff or taupe. It's the color of skin. A Caucasian skin is generally the color puff or taupe in yarn. For Caucasians, of course. I had to buy this yarn online because I'm lazy. I don't want to go to the store with my kids. And
it's a little hard to do right now.
Well, not only that, but I was given an Amazon gift card for $50. So my husband was just like, you know what? We're going to invest in this for this blanket because, again, 486. I don't need to do any more than I need to. What am I talking about? Squares for this blanket. I can do this. I can do hard things. Okay. And so I recently just got the yarn. And I got 1 pounders because I didn't know how much one was going to make. And I was like, you know what? I want to make sure I have enough. And so I got the Red Heart. I want to say this is very cherry. Let me see. Cherry red. Just cherry red. Cherry red. I got Caron 1 pounder in just, I want to say this is just black. Yeah, just solid black. And then I got Caron 1 pounder in, this is called Lace. It's that taupe color. I need something for Mario's skin tone for the blanket. And then I already had a Super Saver Red Heart for the brown I don't know what this color is. Excuse me here as I look. This is called Coffee. And the color for the buttons is I want to say this was a Red Heart Super Saver. I want to say this one was actually just called Gold. Or goldenrod or something like that.
Yeah, I love that gold color.
Yeah. And then the light baby blue is the same as the pillow light baby blue. It's this yarn. I do not have the tag for it. I want to say this is Karen 1 pound yarn, and I bet you this is sky blue. I bet it's something baby blue, sky blue. It's going to be one of those names, I bet you.
Yeah.
And so that should be all the colors, right? The blue, the red, the yellow, the brown, the black, and the puff. Yep. So this is what I am endeavoring to do. So if you see me working on something for the rest of this video, it's just working on those granny squares and trying to get them in. I know that if I just keep my head down and just do it, I know that I'll probably get this done quicker than my head is telling me I'm going to get it done.
It really is quick. Once the blocks are done, it's just like boom, 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 you're done.
Oh, I know. It's just, I'm super excited for the moment. I'm puzzling it on the ground and I'm sewing it together. For you, that's what you hate. For me, that's what I love.
I don't hate it. It's just, yeah.
I know you don't hate it, but it's just... It's not your way of crocheting. For crocheting, it's actually making the whole blanket at one time instead of puzzling it out.
Yes.
For me, this is my art, this is my craft. I enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
And for me, this is me being able to make my own. For me, it's almost like an expression. So you know how like dance is very has its own expression. You can make it your own.
Right.
For me, it's like this craft can literally be made its own,
right,
and can fit into any culture, any style. It can have fandom references with the Marios and like, I don't know, it's a very versatile craft. It can do anything because you have the really fun, loving home decor granny, way back to granny style patterns, and then you have I know this is gonna. I'm not trying to be morbid here, but I've been on Pinterest a lot, and I've been doing a whole bunch of stuff. And I saw someone make a little Grim Reaper. I made someone see, like, it's not supposed to be a real thing, but like a little voodoo doll or whatever, like, you know, just like a little bunny that they were putting pins in. But it was supposed to be their pincushion, but they made it look like a voodoo doll. I laughed. Okay, I know. It's just, you really can just make anything you want out of this, and it's just so much fun. I don't know what else to say. I guess I just love it, and I'm glad that my husband loves me enough to let me do it.
Yeah.
So, to you, and what you want to show off is super fun.
Well, we're gonna branch off a little bit here and show how we keep things together. I've been keeping my notions in a cool pencil case. That's actually where you can find it, coolpencilcase.com. They have all different kind of pencil cases, from little suitcases to animal shapes to just all kinds of different ones. And they're built to last, and they are all kinds of different styles within as well as without, on the outside as well as on the inside. And so what I wanted to show you was how I'm keeping my hooks and what else I'm putting in to this case. And so because it is a pencil case, I'm able to keep my hooks right into it. And it's got a zipper right here, which I keep, a zipper pouch, which I keep my needles, my darning needles in, and a hairband, and down here,
Velcro pouch.
Yep, my Velcro pouch keeps a little mesh pouch full of my stitch markers. And and my stitch markers, some of them I made myself, as in the letter ones. Now you can go to Dollar Tree and get yourself some little letter beads and make your own, so that whenever you leave your project, if you have to leave it for another project, you can put one of those stitch markers on there and it'll tell you what kind of hook you were using for that project by letter. And so I just thought that was a brilliant idea, so I made enough for all my hooks, enough for all her hooks, and so that whenever we have to use our hook on another project that we just happen to be doing now, we can still remember what hook we were using in the last project.
It's so smart.
Then you can flip this right over, and it's got all my things that I find useful, having my scissors. In my quilting days, I had one of the ladies make me, or she gave it to me as a gift. It's a little garbage thing for all your little thread scraps, but I can also use it for my little yarn scraps. If I'm ever somewhere, like I'm over here or whatever, and I don't want to get up and throw my yarn away right away, I can always put it in here. I can always fold it right back up and take it home to throw those scraps away, or throw them away when I get up here. Whatever way, it folds right up and puts it. You can put it right into your case.
So clever. So clever. I never thought of that.
You have your pen.
I want one.
Your needle or hook size and gauge.
Tool.
Oops. Some more of my light bulb stitch markers.
Are they stitch markers, or are they light bulb safety pins?
They're the safety pins. People are using them for stitch markers, but you can use them for other crafts as well. My friend Jane, she uses them for her paper crafts. So they're very versatile. I've got my measurement tool.
I love those ones.
I have a little wooden ruler that's only 7 inches, but if you want to use it just to measure something really quick, that comes in handy, and it fits in here.
Huh?
I have a pencil sharpener on one end and an eraser on the other end that has covers on both of them, so that comes in very handy to have.
This has a little like history timeline on it, and I'm here for it. That's so cool.
A pencil. I have toenail clippers. Now these are, I know that it sounds a little weird, but if you ever get on an airplane, they're not going to let you have scissors on the airplane. If you're still using your hook and your yarn, you still need to cut the yarn sometimes. And a pair of toenail or fingernail clippers can do the job in a pinch. Mm-hmm. And they will allow you to have that on the plane.
Yeah, because you can't do anything with someone on there. I'm sure you could if you wanted to, but...
Also, they come in handy if you need to get a hangnail or something that's going to snag your yarn. So it's a double use. A nail file, just in case you get some kind of a sharp nail or whatever.
You know, I never think about that,
You
but
gotta
it's
take
so
care of,
true.
You got to take care of your hands when you're doing your craft with your hands. You
I
gotta do
absolutely
that.
hate it when my nails get chipped or something and it snags on the yarn. I just never think about packing anything that would eliminate that problem if something were to happen.
Band-Aids, because you don't want blood all over. In case you cut yourself or whatever, you don't want blood on your project.
Also, Band-Aids. Let's talk about this real quick. This isn't going to be that hard. I don't know if anyone's like me, but when I crochet, I end up having this little mark on my finger because I use this finger to guide the yarn, and because of the amount of tension I hold, it ends up causing a little divot. It almost looks like when you take off your wedding ring or something, and all of a sudden your finger is
you got that ring indent.
Grown
Yeah.
around this finger, around the ring. The finger has grown around the ring. Well, my finger always has this thing going on. And my fingers kind of started to callus it in a way. My fingers grown accustomed to it. But if you're new to the craft and your hands start getting achy due to the yarn,
right.
There are special little rings that my husband's thinking about getting me, but it's a ring that you put right on that portion of the finger, and it has like a little hook that can guide the yarn. But in the past, I've put Band-Aids on my finger so that it guides on the Band-Aid instead of my that portion of the finger, so that my finger is not getting ripped up by the yarn. So
yeah, there you go.
Another good reason to have Band-Aids in the pouch.
And the last thing that I have in here is a pad of paper, because you never know when you're going to have to jot down a note, or you have an idea and you need a piece of paper and a pencil or a pen to write that idea down. So I carry all of that with me in my Notions pouch, which is just a pencil case, which you can also, before I had this one, I used to have the plastic or mesh flat pencil cases that you can put into your folders.
She used to do that all the time.
And it's flat. You can put everything into it, and you throw it in your bag, and you still have all your Notions with you. It's an easy, portable way to keep everything right there where you need it.
So cool.
The other thing that I want to talk about is
this makes me so happy.
is a little crochet journal. Now, I'm making this myself. It's not a professional one. The first thing is that it's just a journal. And I have a large rubber band around it, which I already had at the house. I doubled it up and I put it around there because I'm going to be putting ball bands and all that kind of stuff into it. So, but I just use a regular journal, and I actually journal. For the patchwork or the blocks, I have been putting down start dates, what I actually have done, what the whole intention was at the beginning, what it ended up being when I was breaking it in half when I got to the 140 blocks. When I first started the girl blanket, when I got it done, when I started the boy blanket, when I got that done, and when I start the various color blankets, I'll have a start and end date on that too. Just, it's interesting reading for me or anybody else that may come behind me if I end up designing or making my own patterns someday. They may want to know what I was doing before that, or what I did after that. And if I have these crochet journals, my family will know what I was thinking and doing for each one of my projects or my designs or my patterns or whatever the case may be. I put down in here my pine tree mosaic that I ended up making. I put in here that Easy Street hat that I made, that Jonah Larson from Jonas Hands did. and that I ended up making and it actually fit. Um, I put in here that I ordered a stamp. I ordered that yesterday. When I get it, I will be bringing it here to show you, but it has 8 lines on it, and each one of those lines has a different, it's the date, or the start date, the end date, the pattern, the designer of that pattern, the colors that I was using, the yarn brand, or the yarn type, anything like that. And I just went down and thought, what do I want on these pages? What would the hook size, and notes, so that the notes was on the bottom of that stamp, because I know me. I like to write things down. I like to have how I change things up, how what kind of changes I actually made during that process. And so I've got all these things, and the last one that I have in here is starting that blue scrappy blanket last night. So I have all these pages that I can use up with all these ideas, and when I get the stamp, I can stamp on there, write in all the details, and I can make my own notebooks every single time. I don't have, there are a variety of crochet, my crochet journal books, my knitting or journey or journal books. There's all kinds of them out there. I just wanted to make my own. And I just thought, that's the kind of person I am. If I can do it on my own, I've got enough journals at my own house. I've got my own rubber band to hold it all together when I want to put ball bands in here, or yarn scraps in here to show what colorway I went on a project. It's an idea book, it's a notebook, it's a journal for what you're doing for your crochet projects, and that appeals to me very much. It's not going to appeal to everybody, but for those of you out there that are like me and who like to keep track of what you're doing and maybe look back, and now at the end of the year I can go back, I can count how many blankets I did, I can count how many hats or mitts or whatever else I happen to create, and I can tell you folks how many I did of everything next January. And this is my way of keeping track of it all.
I like it because it's almost like writing down the story behind the idea, mm-hmm. the item, whatever you're making. It's writing down the history of the finished object.
Yeah.
So that you can remember what that journey was like. And for someone like her, where the journey is so much more appealing than the finished product, like it is for me, there's something about being able to remember afterward what it was like to be able to do that, what it took to be able to finish that, the ideas, the mm-hmm. snippets, how it dived off into a different direction, the yarns that I used. Because let's be real, we end up finishing a product, and if there was a special yarn or a special ombre or special colorway or something, and we forget what it was, but we have it in our home and we'd like to make more of whatever it is, or make other things with that colorway, we always get frustrated. We always are sitting there being like, what was that? I don't remember. Or
what hook size did I use?
Or, yeah, because if you want to make something similar to what you have, there's no good way of, making duplicates without knowing what hook size, otherwise they won't come out the same.
Yeah.
And just all these different things, and it ends up making little patches to figure out what's the right gauge. But anyway, it's a really good way of just being able to make a book of memories
Yeah.
with what you love to do.
Yeah.
And like, you can do that with everything that you do. You don't have to, I know people that do that for their reading instead of, their craft is honestly reading. They love reading historical books or reading this sort of genre or this, and they get so much enjoyment out of it, and they study and they know so many different things. And to me, a lot of people think that a craft has to do with, constructing something, but sometimes constructing things look differently.
Yeah.
And I just think that if you want to take the time to blot it down where you can see how far you've come,
yeah,
there's nothing wrong with that, and there's something beautiful about that. And I'm not sure if I would ever do it like that, just because I'm always going off in a different direction. My mom's very much more, I've always called her more organized than I am. She generally doesn't ever stop what she's doing until it's completed. She's always a starter and a finisher. And not that I'm not, but I am. I feel like my superpower and my weakness is the bunny trails, because when I see an idea and I get inspired, I have a very hard time sticking to what I was inspired with before.
Yeah.
And it's not that I won't finish it. It's, I know that my inspiration to making something like that will come again, and I just pick up where I left off. And it's just, I don't know, it's what makes us different.
And now I want to make sure that we get our scripture in before we close this out. Today it's, let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. And that's found in Matthew 5:16. I love this verse. It's one of my very favorites. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. If you're doing good, good for other people, good for yourself, good for mankind, then you're showing your Father in heaven, you're showing off His glory. You're being a glory for your Father in heaven. And that is exciting to me. We can sit there and we can make these projects and products and all this stuff, and then when you're making them for others, it's a special thing because you can always put prayer into it. You can like what we did when I made the blanket for the person in California who was having surgery. I prayed over the whole thing, and I let him know that it was prayed over, and he sleeps under it, and it makes him feel better to do that.
It's a comfort.
It's a comfort, and it's a joy to him. And my thought behind that is just that if it brings glory to the Father, then I did the right thing. And so, again, I'm going to read this to you. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. Matthew 5:16.
It's so funny. I've been Bible studying, and one of the things that has been resonating in me is that, I don't remember where this verse is from. I've been writing them down for myself. I don't think about doing it for the video most of the time, just because I don't know what I'm going to end up being inspired to say until this time.
Right.
But that verse reminds me of something that I've been reading a lot of lately, which has been, and God will complete His work His work in you.
Yeah.
And until it is perfect, to the day that Jesus Christ returns.
Yeah.
He's doing a good work in you, and He won't stop until it's completed. And that can look like in so many different ways. If you have things that you're struggling with, I'm sorry, that was my phone. If there's things that you struggle with, strongholds in your life, if there's, things that you're battling, sickness, even just headaches, depression, anxiety, a whole bunch of things that could be happening. Those are some strongholds you have. Your job is hard, your circumstances with the pandemic is treating you rough, being able to not be able to see your family, just so many different things. It could be, fill in the blank. There is a means in which you can find peace.
Yeah.
And become closer in what he has for you. A lot of what sin does is corrupts what we are. And in Genesis it says that we are the image of God, we were created in his image. And what sin does is it corrupts that image, it defiles that image, and it makes us less like him, because then we are less perfect. And it makes it harder for us to reach him. And when he gave his son up for us, he made it possible for us to be able to reach him again. We were in some way in a right standing again, because sin had been covered, and if we chose to not live in sin anymore, then we would be in righteousness and we'd be able to reach him. But we still live in this earth, we still struggle with our flesh, and we are in a continuous journey to lay our burdens down and get free from our flesh. And it's just so nice to know that we don't have to do it alone.
Yeah.
And we have a God that is faithful to complete the good work in us.
Yes.
And it just kind of reminds me of, bring what he has done. Bring it. Mom's verses, let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. There are things that are completed. There are things that are already there. And there are things that can be unburied. Those talents, those giftings that you have that the devil can't take away from you, because they are a part of who you are and what God has created you to do. And it is possible to get out from what the devil is trying to make it so hard that those talents are not what they should be. When we're struggling with what we are going up against, we struggle to be able to do everything that God has created us to be, and yet we have a God that is more than enough, that's going to help us through that, to be able to be and be able to live our life as full as we can make it. And even no matter where you are, know that God is not forgotten about you, and he's with you, and he's going to help you and complete the good work in you if you let him.
Yes.
And I know that for some of you that is scary, you don't know, it's hard, and where do you begin? We are here. We are willing to answer any questions that you might have.
Yep.
We have an email on the bottom that in the description that would be able to get to us, that would
or if you want to put it in the comments and let us get to know you a little bit better, and
you're
we
more
can
than
pray
welcome.
We can pray for those who ask for prayer, and we can be friends with those who want to be friends with us, and we are here for you.
Yeah. If it's private, we're more than willing to be a part of any conversation that you want to bring forth.
If it's private, put it on our email.
Yeah, if
it's something that you're not worried about, put it on the comments.
Yeah, something like, hey, have you ever started a project and realized that it was more work than you were willing to actually get involved with, but you've already started? Something like Mom's Afghan. Do you like Afghans, or do you like making full-size blankets start to finish? Do you like making things that are more fan-based or more traditional? We'd love to know. We'd love to get to know you more. We love you. We appreciate our time with you every single week, and we hope that you are doing well. And until next time, we ask you to stay blessed and stitch your way
to mental health.